If there's one lesson I ever have to teach anybody about owning and running a restaurant, it's pay your sales tax and pay it on time and accurately. My restaurant in 2010, we had a nightmare on our hands. Cost us $180,000. We paid back every dime and almost put us out of business. That's because we didn't file the proper sales tax, we didn't file them on time, and we didn't pay them on time. And we were so busy and unorganized and focused on, head down running our business that we never looked at any of the stuff from the state, and it got real scary real quick. So that's the number one lesson I share with you guys. Pay your sales tax. And you want to do it real easy, real simple? DAVO sales tax. I'm telling you right now, it is the number one no-brainer. Any client I have, anybody I remotely know who's opening a restaurant, before I talk to them about anything else, I tell them to sign up for DAVO, because they hook directly into your POS. You do your business all day long, right? It pulls your sales tax, says this is what you owe, takes it from your bank, and then pays it for you monthly, quarterly, whatever you have set up, and then that's it. You don't have to worry about it. You can go back to running your business. You can go back to enjoying what you do best. This is not why you got into the restaurant business, is to calculate and pay sales tax. Yeah, sure, your accountant could do it, but they don't even like to do it. We had an accountant, he didn't do it. So here's my thing. Go to the website, sign up, takes 2 seconds to sign up, and at least talk to somebody. Figure out if this is gonna be right for you, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if you listen to us, if you listen to Sean's show, the fact is, every client, every person we talk to, we recommend DAVO because it is such a no-brainer. I tell them all the time, I should be a salesman for you guys, because I'd walk into restaurants and be like, just sign this. You wanna never worry about sales tax again? Sign this. So, DAVO sales tax, the link is in the show notes. You guys check them out. It is a no-brainer. Never worry about sales tax again, and go back to doing what you love.
Hey everyone, Avi Gorin, CEO and co-founder of Marqii, and I want to talk about the customer journey for a second. You never know as a restaurant owner where your guests are truly coming from. End of the day, we do see some patterns around two types of search behaviors: direct versus discovery. Direct search, for an example, would be jumping into Google and saying Cali barbecue hours, right? I know where I want to go to eat, but I'm missing a key detail. I need a little bit more information. Discovery, which is the bulk of searches, is barbecue in San Diego, restaurants near me, takeout near me, right? One of the best ways to be found for more discovery searches is leveraging keywords. Reviews are basically free content for you to leverage. Think about keywords that are relevant to your brand, your location, and include as many of those in your review responses as possible, right? How can you go about doing this? Let's set up reports, utilize tools like Google Trends, find out what's going on in your area and how you can help leverage these keywords and review responses, because someone else is doing that, right? If you need some examples, you could do anything from including summer menu, gluten-free menu, leverage specific menu items like the dreaded and beloved spice pumpkin anything in your review responses, right? Let them know what's coming. Let your reviewers know something they should come back and try. And of course, if all of this just seems overwhelming and daunting because you're already running a restaurant and have enough on your plate, just leverage the team at Marqii to do this for you. We handle all of this. We're experts in this space. We can automate this so it's just another item that you know you are taking care of. Again, that's marqii.com, marqii.com. No you. However, we did recently buy marquii.com, so if you do misspell it, we got you. You'll still find us. We can still help you.
On today's episode, we are talking about restaurant construction, how to plan for it, how to budget for it, how to set expectations for the team and your investors around timing, and of course, who to hire, and you're going to learn about the common pitfalls that so many of you guys are making. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to Close Monday. I'm your host, Kyle and Sarah, and if you don't know, I'm a recovering restaurant owner, meaning I used to own restaurants. I don't own them anymore, but I do work with a lot of restaurants as a commercial real estate advisor in helping them find real estate across the country. So, what else? Oh, shout out to my man, Sean Walchef, Cali Barbecue. They opened up at the Naval Base in San Diego, right alongside the heavy hitters, Panda Express, Five Guys, Pizza Hut. So I know that was a long time coming, something he was busting his ass to get open. So shout out to my man, Sean Walchef. If you guys are on TikTok, which we are recording live on TikTok, not recording live, we are live on TikTok. Go give Sean Walchef, Cali Barbecue Media, a follow and check them out. They got great content. And he's my boy. So, and tell him I sent you. So he knows, just so he knows. I want to make sure that that's happening. But big accomplishment there on the naval base is a big deal. So anyway, let's get into it. Now, I just want to say this. In my experience, personal experience, and in dealing with clients, people always screw this part up. The timelines, the budget, the people you bring on board, and the pitfalls and the mistakes that a lot of people make are so common. I thought it made sense to just kind of bring up and talk about my experience. So you have already a business, right? And you're looking for a new location, or maybe you're a new restaurant and you're kind of getting started. The construction piece is obviously critical, it should go without saying. But what I want to make sure you're understanding is how critical, and not just in obvious terms, meaning obviously I need somebody to build up my restaurant. That's important. But the time and the money that you spend here is vital to the success of your business, because you're going to need as much cash on hand as possible. I don't care if this is your 5th location or your 500th location, you're going to need that cash. So whether it's time or actual dollars, you're going to want to be careful. So let's get into it. Now, obviously, let's just skip over the actual site selection part. That's a whole other episode that I've spoken about a bunch of times, but assume you have found a location that's a great fit for your demographic. It's a great fit for your business plan. Your target market is there. You have a menu that you've decided on, or you're just kind of, building on your existing menu or rolling out the same menu. You've got foot traffic down. You've got the parking, the zoning laws. You've nailed the competition. You've bought the place. You've leased the place. You've done whatever is right for you. We've got the real estate secured. Okay. Now it's time to say, okay, I'm in this process of securing this real estate. Let's just say it's not secured. Let's say you're in the lease process, right? The lawyers have the lease. To me, when the lawyer gets the lease is when you need to start planning. I mean, you should probably start planning before, but the absolute latest that you should be planning the construction of your restaurant is when the lawyer gets the lease. Now, some might say that's too tight. I think it's a good deadline. Okay. If you want to start before, start calling people, getting estimates, by all means. But let's just assume you're going to start there. I would assume, now this obviously, let's just put the disclaimer out there. It depends on the condition of the restaurant. It depends on where you are in the country. But the rough estimate for new construction can range anywhere between $150 a square foot to $300 a square foot. Okay. If you're doing renovations, it's less. It could be about $50 to $150 a square foot. Again, depending on the materials you use, depending on where you're located, what you're doing, etc. I would want to be sure right out of the gate, who's my team? Okay. Hopefully you used a broker to secure this site. Okay. Obviously, you know my stance on that. They may have contacts that they can refer to you. If not, you got to go source some. Talk to restaurants in the neighborhood, talk to some friends, but make sure they've worked on restaurants before. You want to see their work. You want to, speak to them about what it took to get things done, and you're going to want them to walk through the space. So who are these people? The first one, okay? Bring them on board as soon as possible. Have it factored into your budget to have this person coming on board right out of the gate. And some of you guys chintz out on this, and I don't know why. Spend the money on a great restaurant architect. Whatever they're going to cost you. It can cost between $10,000 and $15,000 for a great architect. Their experience in restaurant design and their familiarity in the market, ideally they've worked in that market before, maybe they have some connections with the town, which would be great, will save you a shit ton of money. They will save you money that you didn't even know was possible to save. in actual, meaning like, oh, don't worry about this, I'll take care of that kind of thing, but also in terms of time, like we said in the beginning. The second person, now these guys might work hand in hand, is obviously a contractor. Again, as somebody who worked with a contractor who didn't have experience in restaurants, please, I beg you, do everything you can to get a contractor who has worked in a restaurant. It screwed us so bad in our restaurant. That's going to be a TikTok video that I make. But it screwed us so bad that the money we spent and the time we lost and the things that had to wait for them to come back and fix this and add that shelf and cut that and, all that shit was a nightmare that you don't need when you're trying to open a restaurant. Okay. They didn't know what they were doing, and it was a nightmare. So you want to make sure you have a contractor who's walked this road before and has some experience building out restaurants, because there's going to be things that are specific to your build out that a contractor who does home renovations is not familiar with. The other person that, if you're not aesthetically that kind of person who can design space, you're going to want to get a designer. Okay. If you're looking to make something a concept or a particular look, feel, and vibe, and you want it to feel polished and professional, again, spend the money on a designer. You're not there to be that person. Maybe your spouse is. I don't want to say husband, wife, whatever, whoever the designer is, right? Let them take the lead there. Maybe you save a couple bucks on that, but get somebody who's going to put the aesthetics together. You're going to want that continuity of your concept throughout. And it's going to show. Believe me, your customers are more savvy than they ever have been. And with that being the case, you're going to want to make sure that you are tackling the design component as seriously as you are the construction and the architect work. Lastly, the team member that I think is worth, again, every penny, a kitchen consultant. Now, this person should work hand in hand with your architect, because you want them to lay out the specific flow of the kitchen, what makes the most sense. I don't care if you're a 1,500 square foot QSR or a 5,000 square foot full service fine dining restaurant. You're going to want that kitchen to flow, because if it doesn't, it impacts ticket times, that impacts the guest experience, and that's one thing you can never sacrifice on. So in my opinion, a kitchen consultant is key for the flow, but also for the particular equipment and the layout. So when the architect is doing the layout of the kitchen and putting in the flat top or the griddle, the deep fryers, and all the other equipment that has to be in that space, they're going to put the model numbers, the equipment name and the model numbers. Okay. It'll be listed out on the side of the plan. This way, when you go to place your order, the kitchen consultant may order it for you. They may have some great deals that they have with their vendors. But if not, you're going to go source it on your own. You can tell them, hey, I want this deep fryer. Here's the model number. I want this, salamander. Here's the model number. It makes everything a whole lot easier. Okay. It's something that you gotta put yourself back and be 50,000 feet above this project and almost like have this team maneuver everything for you. Don't get in that mindset of like, I can do that myself. I can do that myself. You could, right? You could. It's something that can be done. But in my opinion, you're not going to want to waste your time on that. You're going to want to focus on what you do best. Now, this to me is a process that, as I said, should start at least when the lawyers get the lease and they're negotiating. So you have about a month to figure it all out. But you should have had your budget nailed down. So I'm just going to run through some basics of budgeting for construction. Now, these are industry percentages. So they, again, will vary depending on if you're in New York City or if you're in somewhere else. I don't want to offend anybody, but let's just break down some construction costs. Shell construction, okay? The exterior is going to be about 40 to 50% of your budget. Okay, that's a lot. Now, you may not need it, but again, this is just a rundown of everything, so you guys have it. MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, is going to be about 20 to 30% of your budget. Interior finishes, 20 to 30%. Equipment and furnishings. Kitchen equipment, I would plan on 40% of your budget. Dining room furniture, 15%. And anything for the bar, you're going to be looking at 5 to 10%. Permits and licenses, everybody's favorite topic. Liquor license. If you're going for it, they range from about $10,000 to $12,000, anywhere to over $500,000, close to $500,000 in places like New Jersey, which is crazy. If you're in New Jersey and you pay that for a liquor license, shout out to you, because that's crazy. And I know it's a pain in the ass to be BYOB. So I know they're working on something there. I don't know if any other states involved with that. I'd be curious to find that out. But these private liquor licenses, I know New Jersey wants to get rid of it, but how do they compensate the folks who've already paid for them? Again, different podcast. Health department permits, they're not a huge expense, but they're in there, $300, $500, right? That's about what I've seen for those. But building permits, they are based on a percentage of the construction costs. So typically that percentage is about 1 to 2%. So take that into consideration. It's a decent number when you're looking to have a complete build out. Financing for this type of stuff, look, but hold on, before we get into financing, let's talk about another expense you're going to have. Lastly, contingency fund. You're going to go over budget. Almost guaranteed. And if you don't, you got the cash sitting there. So I would plan on about 25 to 30% of your overall budget to be contingency, and leave it as contingency. Put it somewhere where you don't see it, but know that extra 25 to 30% is sitting there waiting for you if, God forbid, you need it to take care of something that was unexpected or something that went over budget. Financing, let's go back to that. We've talked about it before. I've done content on it before. Financing is going to always be, again, if you're a startup restaurant, you're probably looking at friends and family, credit cards, and your own funding, home equity line of credit, that type of stuff, because the bank's not going to give a startup restaurant any money. But if you have some experience, you have some units, you can look at traditional bank loans, SBA loans. You can find investors, high net worth individuals who like your restaurant. Maybe you want to take a shot on you opening up another one. And then there's equipment financing. So taking a loan against the equipment that you're going to be using or that you have in your stores. So those are a couple different things. Some people say the merchant line of credit. Yeah, that can be good. Ultimately, I think that the rates can be a little bit high. I haven't been down that road in a while. Maybe you guys could tell me, but merchant financing can be an option. But look into it. Make sure you have an idea of what you're really going to be paying, because it can be pricey. Let's jump into the other part of the financial side, which is the timing. And again, guys, I'm running through this. If you have any questions, hit me up on social, send me an email. My contact information is in the show notes. I'd be happy to walk you guys through some of this stuff. But basically, planning for this, again, like I said in the beginning, is going to save you a ton of time and a ton of money. The project is broken down into a couple different phases. So you have the design phase, you have the permitting, you have the construction, you have the equipment, and you have the final inspections. Okay, that's about it. During that phase, during that process, rather, you're going to need to break each one of those time periods up. Okay, does that make sense? Sorry, I just got distracted by a text I got on my screen. So let's start at the beginning. Design phase, I would say 30 to 90 days. That's where you're figuring out what you want the place to look like. You're going to kind of go through a couple different iterations of that, whether you're with a designer or not. Once you have that with the architect, they got some drawings. They're final now. You're going to bring them to the building department for permitting. I would plan on that taking 60 to 90 days. Okay. Again, all this varies by location. It varies by municipality, but again, standard numbers, rough numbers. Construction, the actual building, swinging hammers, doing the work. It could take you 6 months to a year. Just a fact. Okay. I just met with a guy over here. 2 years. 2 years to start the construction, to finish the construction from start to finish. Do not underestimate that. Okay. That is something that you're going to have in your mind. It's not going to be shorter. It's going to be longer. Okay. It's going to take longer than you think, period. If by the grace of anybody you believe in or the universe, it happens in a shorter period of time, fantastic, right? You get in there sooner, you took advantage of your free rent period, all that stuff. But I'm telling you now, odds are you're going to go over, and just plan on that. Be prepared. Then you're going to bring in the equipment. It's going to take about a month, let's just say 2 weeks, 4 weeks to get the equipment in. And then, depending on the time of year, right now it's just August now, final inspections and approvals are going to take you 2 to 4 weeks. And I say in August, it could be a problem because people are on vacation. If your building department, the head of building inspections is on vacation in August, you just have to wait till they get back. That's it. And it's not going to get done on the first inspection. They're going to have to come back. So bring everybody in. Bring in the building department. Bring in the health department. Let them see where you're at all throughout the process. This way, if they catch anything, they're going to say, hey, just be careful. Make sure you guys do this and document it. Okay? That's key. I should have mentioned that sooner. But you're going to want to bring in those heads of those departments, the building department, the fire department, the health department, and just say, hey, I'm opening up a restaurant. We're doing basically a full build out, or give them the scope of work and say, I just want to make sure we're doing everything right. If, I'd like to have you guys come by. What's a good day of time for you guys to walk the space with me and my contractor? Take notes and just stay on top of it. And this way, when you call for a final inspection, they're not just coming in with their own assumptions. They've already seen the space. They met you. There's some rapport there, and should make things a little smoother. Other things to consider, winter, weather, right? Like even heat. People are not going to be working in a space if it's too hot. They're going to be taking a day off, maybe, not working as fast. It will affect that. Permit issues could slow things down. Supply chain stuff, whether it's on the equipment side, on the lumber side, right after the pandemic, that was a major challenge. And really just contractor scheduling issues. How busy are they? What is it going to take for them to get this done based on their schedule? So make sure you're clear on that. I knew a restaurant operator who would get his bids, right, for the contractor, and then say, hey, okay, I'm going to give you your price. Kind of like negotiating. You're going to get kind of like negotiating the lease. You're going to get the price or the terms. You're not going to get both. So he would say, okay, you want $400,000 to build out this restaurant? Great. $400,000 deal. When are you going to be done? They pick a date. Okay. Every week that you are past that date, 10% comes off the price. I don't know. It worked for him. He had a lot of units, very successful, but I don't know if you're maybe not as established, that may be a little bit of an aggressive stance, but throw it out there. Maybe they're willing to take a shot on it. So, couple things. Common pitfalls that I see. Let's end with this piece. Underestimating the costs. Don't do it. Overestimate your costs. You can always have that money. If you took a loan and you budgeted, $300,000 for the build out, and you spent $250,000, put the $250,000 back on the loan. You don't want to be short, because that's going to add time, which ultimately costs more money. You need to make sure that you get multiple bids. This way you have a clear understanding of what those costs are. Research current material and labor costs, have conversations, talk to people. This is a big issue right now, particularly as it pertains to inflation and how this is impacting the cost of these projects, and ultimately the cost of getting up and running for business, obviously. The second thing I would say is a lot of groups are not clear on the local expectations from the municipalities. So that means the permitting process, the fire department, the health department. I would make sure that you get your hands on an expediter if you are in a big city, somebody who can help you navigate the process and speed it along. And you want to make sure that in that you're delivering them a significant amount of material about your business, so they don't have to go back and forth to you. Make sure you're buttoned up all the way to the point where they're going to go start presenting you to the building department. You don't want, again, You don't want there to be some stupid reason for them to come back to you and say, hey, we're just missing this, we need that. Those little things are the things that will stress you out when you should be focused on something bigger. So this is definitely part of that, like, package everything, plan everything is going to save you a ton of money as you move forward. What else we got here? No plan. No plan if it takes longer. What are you going to do cash wise? How are you going to make it work? Not having backup vendors, not having backup suppliers for certain things can certainly impact the build out period. It can be a real challenge. And then for things that are maybe a design element, right, or something that's a functional piece of the restaurant that's not directly related to how you execute service, have a plan B. If you're being overly ambitious and you want a waterfall wall and you can't get the pump or you can't get approval to have a plan B. Okay. This is major because you don't want to be waiting on a certain piece that's in your plan to be installed. And the building department says, like, well, where's the waterfall, or where's the whatever, or you don't have lights in the back because the fixture didn't arrive. You're going to have to figure that out. Have a plan B. Look, for standard stuff, you can always find a quick backup. But in general, you're going to want to make sure that for the bigger things, you have a plan B. Lastly, and this is probably the key piece to this, you need to be transparent and communicate clearly with your contractor. Not always going to be easy. They're very busy. You're very busy, but they're running from project to project. You got to hold them accountable by having regular meetings. Set up timelines, expectations. Okay, you're going to be the project manager for this. You're going to want to make sure that you're the one that is holding them accountable. If they say this is going to be done by next Thursday and you're there next Thursday and it's not even close to done, you got a problem. Okay, that can be prevented with regular meetings. Personally, there's a couple things you can look up. You can use some project management software. There's a bunch of them out there. You can hire a project manager. Okay, if you feel like you don't have the time, they will stay on top of that. That's their job, to make sure you hit those milestones. Something absolutely worth looking into, particularly if you have multiple units. There's going to be headaches. You want to make sure you're able to mitigate them. You want to make sure you're able to take that challenge and address it and find a workaround or figure out a solution. That is where these meetings come in handy, and they certainly are, in my opinion, they're critical to the success of your restaurant, period. Hard stop there. You're also going to want to make sure that you have this now list of things that are getting done for your restaurant. And as you get down to the end, there's something called a punch list. That punch list is basically your last bit of items. But along the way, you basically have these things that are getting done. But if anything needs to change, right, and they will change, that's where those budget increases come from. Oh, if they didn't have that, we had to do this. It's more expensive. Boom, it was $5,000, now it's $7,500. Be clear on those change orders. What changed and why? Okay, ask the why. Why do we have to use that material? Is there something less expensive? Oh no, we have to use this as per the health department. Oh no, we have to use this per code from the building department. But other decorative stuff, or who knows, anything, just ask and be clear on those change orders. That, like, this is what the original estimate said, but this is what it is now. Most likely not going to be a reduction in costs. So keep your eye on those change orders, because they add up quick. If you've built out a restaurant, you know how quick change orders can add up. That's about it. I know I went through this fast, but ultimately this is something that is very detailed. Maybe I'll do a series of content on this construction stuff. But I find so many groups get caught up in not being prepared for this, and it becomes a real problem for them, financially, just stress wise. They didn't prepare, and it can be it's just something. It's going to be stressful. It helps to be buttoned up to the best of your ability, and if you can't be, then you're going to have to pay for it. Okay, bring those professionals on board. But just to recap, as we finish out here, planning is essential. Okay, period. You got to plan this out. Don't go into this. Okay, sign the lease. Now what do we do? Get started. Last moment you can get started is at lease execution. Budget realistically and include all the contingencies. Okay. Add that extra 25, 30%. Plan for longer time. Again, keep saying that word, plan. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but plan for this to take longer than you think. You think it's going to take 6 months? Budget for 9 months or plan for 9 months. Trust me, if it comes up shorter, you're going to be ecstatic. And again, be clear in your communications. Be clear in the expectations. Be clear of what you want and what you were told and how that's all going to play out over time. And if anything's changing in there, have a conversation, write it down, document it via email. Make sure you are, again, if you're project managing this, you're communicating your wants, needs, and desires all along the way and holding people accountable. So if you can't take detailed notes, find somebody who can, because it's going to be a cluster, regardless if this is your first restaurant again, or if you've done this several times. We don't want to make sure you're clear on that. And remember, this piece, setting yourself up for this construction and the costs and the timing are going to be what's let me start that over. Setting yourself up here is going to save your ass, period. I'm trying to get too cute with my words. Setting yourself up now is going to save your ass later. It may not feel like it. You're going to feel like you went through the ringer, but I guarantee you, if you're doing all these things and staying on top of it along the way, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier than if you didn't. All right. That's it for today's episode about construction. If you guys have any questions, you know where to find me. I look forward to hearing those questions because this is a big thing. I've never really spoken about it, so I'm kind of excited to dive into it. I'm dealing with it quite a bit right now in different parts of the country for some of my clients. So, ask your questions, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.